Donald Trump's first year in office definitely wasn't good for jobs or the job market. New December jobs numbers released today are giving us a glimpse at an anemic U.S. jobs market during Donald Trump's first year back in the White House. The Wall Street Journal reports American employers added jobs at a subdued pace in December, capping a year in which the U.S. labor market lost considerable momentum. Outside of the two most recent recessions, 2025 saw the lowest pace of average monthly job growth since 2003. All told, employers added 584,000 new jobs in 2025, or about 49,000 jobs a month on average. That is a marked deceleration from 2024, when the economy added 2 million jobs at a pace of 168,000 a month. So, under Trump, the economy added, on average, 1/3 of the jobs it did under President Biden. The New York Times adding, the labor market has deteriorated over the past year, in particular for new graduates and others who are looking for work, and people with jobs are hanging on to them tight. The Trump White House quickly went into spin mode. Here is Donald Trump's director of the National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, on Fox, trying to explain away the jobs numbers in truly ridiculous fashion.
When you look at the numbers and see that they're below 100, then the below 100 thing isn't as disturbing as it might be in the past, because a lot of it is like we've reduced federal government employment by 250,000 this year. And of course, we're deporting illegals.
While you try to wrap your head around that logic, Hassett followed it up with a separate Fox appearance where he decided to go with a Trump White House favorite: blame the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
You got it. Revisions now. October down 68,000, November down 8,000. What do you make of that?
Yeah, the numbers, we still have to get the BLS numbers to be more reliable. There's a lot of work right now. We're recruiting a new head of the BLS.
The Trump White House is, of course, looking for a new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because Donald Trump fired the last commissioner for releasing jobs numbers he didn't like. And the guy Donald Trump wanted to put in the role was forced to withdraw because it appeared he couldn't get confirmed even in this Trump-friendly Senate. Joining us now, Heather Long, chief economist at Navy Federal Credit Union. Heather, great to see you. What do you think the 2025 jobs numbers say about the overall health of the American economy?
Yeah, it's a really interesting time for the economy. I would call this a jobless boom. Basically, we're seeing really strong growth in the economy from the AI boom and a lot of spending by the richest consumers in the economy. But at the same time, we're experiencing a hiring recession. As you were flashing up those numbers, it's important to understand weakest hiring outside of an actual recession since 2003 at the end of the dot-com boom. Some other statistics to keep in mind: if it weren't for healthcare and social assistance jobs, we would be talking about layoffs in 2025. There are many industries that are doing layoffs. It is not just the federal government. Manufacturing was doing layoffs last year. Professional and business services, transport and warehouse sector was doing layoffs. You know, there's quite a few industries. Mining is another one that had a really tough year. And even things like construction and retail basically added 0 jobs. And here's another one to keep in mind. 85% of the jobs that were added in 2025 happened by April. Of course, what happens in April? We have the big tariff announcement.
Right. And you had a data point, speaking of April, that was even more breathtaking. It was the reverse. There was almost no hiring since April. So given that, do you think there are any signs that the U.S. labor market rebounds anytime soon?
I think it's going to continue to be this hiring recession for at least a few more months. And this has been really tough. Anyone who's looking for a job is struggling right now. And even people who have jobs, as the New York Times had written, they are clinging to those jobs. You can't just go and get a better job if you're frustrated right now, or a higher paying job somewhere else. There just are not many opportunities unless you work in healthcare right now. I will say we'll see what happens later this year. Obviously, there's tax cuts that are going on. The Supreme Court's about to rule on the tariff decisions. That could lower some tariffs going forward. So the Federal Reserve is lowering interest rates. So there are some things that should juice the economy, Jonathan, later this year. So it may be a different situation later in 2026, but it's a rough winter.
Speaking of interest rates, Heather, what do you think the Fed will do with interest rates given the shape that the labor market is in?
It's definitely still a weak labor market. I will say I don't think it's getting worse. It's not getting any better. And certainly a hiring recession is not where you want to be. But it looks like they will be on hold in January and then look to see what the data says the next few months and probably cut in March the next time.
One more question for you, Heather. I think you mentioned that we're all waiting for the Supreme Court's ruling on Trump's tariffs authority. What kind of impact could that decision have on the job market?
I mean, it would be huge for the overall economy if those tariffs are overturned. These are the national emergency tariffs. It's just over half of the tariffs that are currently in place. What it will basically mean is the White House will scramble to put in place some other tariffs. However, many companies will receive refunds, especially small businesses. That's money in their pockets. And more importantly, Jonathan, any tariffs going forward are likely to be a little bit lower. There are some other levers the White House can pull, but they take a lot longer, or they can only go up to about 15%. So the result would probably be slightly lower tariffs. And as you know, in this climate where there's an affordability crunch, any savings is good savings for the middle class.